Now, something we just mentioned earlier was when we were talking about variables, we talked about this here, and it's a bit ugly, but the advantage of it is that suppose we have a fish of the day, and the fish of the day is whatever is in our bucket, and we have our restaurant application here, and this is we have a menu here, and we display the menu to the user when they log on to our website, and we have a look and see what's in our bucket before we ask the user what they would like. And so here we see that this is a string here. This is also a string. A string in PHP is anything between these double quotes. You can use single quotes either, it's a different type of string, but we put things between double quotes, and you can see SciTE is helpfully giving it a different color for us. And once we have a string, we can just pop in a variable name here. And PHP, as soon as it sees a $sign, it knows that the next word is a variable, so it'll put that value directly into the string. So let's just execute that and see what happens. Would you like some mackerel? Okay, great. And we could change that to trout. And we can see that just, we don't have to change this line here, it automatically adds in that variable. And so that's the nice thing about PHP, it automatically replaces variable names with their value when we put those in a string. Now you might think that's not a big deal, yippee, but in other languages like Java and so on, we actually have to add these strings together and then pop in the variables. So for instance, if this was another language, we'd have to do something much more convoluted. We'd have to create one string, add it to this string, and then so we'd have three different strings. We'd have this string here, and then we'd use this string addition operator here to add it to this variable, which is a string, and then we add that to this one here. You have three strings, and we add them all together, and that's going to output the same thing as the last time, hopefully. Let's just check that we haven't introduced an error or something, and indeed it has. So it hasn't introduced an error, it's fine. So, but this is the same as saying we can get rid of all this, oops, here, and just do that. So what is happening here? Well, what's happening is PHP sees this string, and once it sees these double quotes, it gets the string and says, right, we have a double quoted string. The PHP processor here, it says, I'm going to look through this string for any variables, and then it says, aha, here's the $sign, this must be a variable, so I am going to replace this with its value. So that's how that works. So you might would you like some, you can imagine now that because it does that we can't use the $sign in our string. So let's just put this in here. That's just a new line there, that the character, don't worry about that. Only costs $5. Let's see what this does. Okay, 5. Okay, that's fine because that can't be a variable name. Let's see what this does. Okay, that doesn't give an error, but it just, let's see what this does. Okay, and that's fine. So you may see what PHP is doing here. It's looking to see whether this is a variable name or not. So you can see SciTE immediately is picking up that if the $sign is followed by an underscore or a letter, it's italicizing it, which is very interesting. something I didn't know till now. And PHP will allow us to put $signs in our string. That's fine, as long as they're not followed by a letter or an underscore. So that's good to know. Now there is another type of string, however, in PHP, which is one that starts with single quotes. So let's create a single one that's enclosed in single quotes rather. So let's create a single quoted string. There's a single quote there, and let's just copy that there and there. Now you can see already, you may be able to see, hopefully you can see this, that SciTE has done something subtle here. This string here is dark green and this one is light green. So this is really the power of using an editor. It helps us, it's hinting at us all the time. It's telling us things that the processor is telling it. So now this string, let's just copy this here and put it into our, let's create a bit more screen real estate here. Let's get rid of these line numbers. Now we have a bit of wider screen, that's better. So let's just copy this in here. Now let's just have a very quick look. Now we have two almost identical strings here, apart from this new line character, which we'll just take that out. Now we have two identical strings roughly here. So let's clear our screen down here and let's just output this and see what happens. Let's run this F5. Now first, would you like some trout is output, and then would you like some my fish bucket is output. And that's because we have this single quoted string here, which is a string between these single quotes. And in PHP it treats this just as what we call a string literal. It just takes that and dumps it straight to the output. It doesn't do any processing on it. So as soon as it sees this, it starts looking for variables. You can see here this variable here is italicized, but this one isn't. Once it has this single string, single quoted string, it doesn't interpolate any of the variables. Interpolation is the string interpolation is the correct technical term for how this works. And something to note here is that this code here executes much quicker, this line, than this. The processor, when it does all its work here, it just takes it. When it takes this one, it obviously has to look through, keep looking. Oh, this is a $sign, so the next thing may be a variable. Is this a number or a letter? It's a letter, so this must be a variable. Let's keep going till we get to a space. Okay, there's a space. This must be the variable name. Let's go and look up the value. Let's get the value. Let's put it in here. Now let's keep looking for any more variables and so on. So you can see that it does an amount of work as soon as it sees this. But as soon as it sees this, it says, forget about it. We're not going to do anything. We're just going to output this string straight away. So that is the difference between these two type of strings. And there's other things that you can escape in strings and that'll be interpolated besides variables. But that is the basics of string interpolation for variables.